The gentleman yields. I now recognize Mr. Ivey. I believe Maryland, right?
Yeah. Still, yes, you're
Still
yes,
Maryland.
Mr. Chairman,
right?
that's correct.
For his 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to hear from this panel. I think it's. I want to thank the chairman for bringing this together. We don't all agree on some of the things that have been said and some of the points of emphasis. Before he leaves, though, I did want to thank Chairman Bishop for his work on some related issues. We had a previous subcommittee hearing on domestic terrorism threats. Now, we came at it from different angles. You know, you focused on the issues from the left, I focused on the issues from the right. But I think it's still important that we recognize that those issues are there because it's been pointed out by the panel, and I'll come back to the border wall issue in a moment, but you know, one of the things I think we need to focus on with respect to threats from Iran are the domestic opportunities that they have. We already know that, as we've heard from some of our leaders in law enforcement at the federal level, domestic terrorism is one of the top challenges, if not the top challenge in the United States with respect to overall terrorism. We've had hearings here in this committee. I'm on judiciary as well with respect to lone wolf killings and attacks on democracy. I want to make sure that we focus on these issues because with respect to the threat, CISA, one of the agencies within the Homeland Security Department, has really been undermined, frankly, by some of the leadership. Some of my colleagues on the Judiciary Committee, including the chairman, have taken opportunities to really challenge that entity. And so the ability for us to, as a government, to respond to interaction from Iran that's attempting to undermine the nation with respect to democracy or ginning up false information has been a problem. I think we need to reinvigorate that, and I hope that we can do that as well with this group. I see Congressman Pfluger's returned. I did want to take a moment and apologize for interrupting your opening statement. I didn't realize the context of what was going on with that. With respect to the border wall, I do want to say this too. I had a chance to go to Israel last month, actually, with Congressman Carter and some others. And we went down to the Gaza border and saw that, you know, I think pretty much some of the same areas that we saw Hamas coming across. I know in H.R. 2, the border wall is a key focus. I know there's a strong interest by my Republican colleagues in completing that. In fact, H.R. 2 has a mandate for 900 additional miles of border wall to be built up. I still continue to believe that that's not the right way to go. I think the additional funds that could be used, our calculation was that 900 miles of additional wall would run about $18 billion. The supplemental that the White House sent, which I would encourage my colleagues to support, I think is less than that total amount. And so I think we need to move forward with the supplemental proposal with respect to 1,600 new asylum officers, 375 new immigration judges. I think this can also help with getting a control over the number of people who are in the United States. We talk a lot about the people who come across the border and we don't know their backgrounds or where they are. I think if we expand the personnel who can deal with that, I think that would be a big step in the right direction. I know there's going to be an issue and discussion in Israel about what happened at the border. I don't want to get into that now. I think it's important to simply support them in their efforts to defeat Hamas and dismantle Hamas. But I think there is some instruction there for the United States as we consider H.R. 2 and the border wall. I think in closing, I wanted to ask a quick question to the ambassador. You said kind of in two ways that we needed to do more. I think at one point you said more than a press release with respect to the deterrence. And then with respect to questions from the ranking member, you mentioned that we've already had prosecutions and that you can congratulate the Department of Justice on that. But I want to get a sense of specific steps. What specifically would you be saying we should do? You said don't bomb Tehran, and I appreciate that comment. But what exactly did you have in mind that we should be doing?
Well, Congressman, thanks for the question. It's actually really hard to answer that from the chair I'm currently sitting in as a private citizen without access to classified intelligence reporting and not being privy to diplomatic conversations in the region. So I think the best I can do from my current perch is to offer a sort of broad strategic advice. And that strategic advice is impose costs using whatever tools of national power are available. Economic power, diplomatic power, law enforcement power, intelligence, perhaps military under the right circumstances. Use whatever levers of national power are available to us to impose costs.
Let me reclaim my time briefly, and before I wrap up, we've heard a lot of comments about appeasement. Again, I would encourage my colleagues with respect to Ukraine and the funding for them. If we don't want to send a message about appeasement that's interpreted the wrong way, I think it's critical for us to continue to fund Ukraine. And I yield back.